First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Sue Ellen Bordwell. I am a member of the Faith in Action Council and an active participant in the main UU Social Advocacy Network, UU The Vote 2020. I am so happy to be greeting you this morning live from our sanctuary, so welcome. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. Won't you take those words to heart? At First Universalist, our mission is to explore, embrace, and engage. Before our service this morning, I have the following announcement. Following our service today, the Religious Exploration Council is excited to offer our first learning hour beginning at 11:30. During this time, those of you who join our coffee hour will have the opportunity to join 3 breakout groups. The first is a sermon discussion group, the second is a new to UU group, and the third will be the continuation of our unstructured coffee hour. The RE Council hopes to offer this learning hour each week after worship going forward with a rotating array of classes and discussion groups that are all welcome. You are all welcome to join. But now, take a deep breath and settle into this different but still sacred space. Reverend Hillary will lead us into our worship.
Thanks, Sue. Thank you, tech crew, Pete, Kai, Arwen, and Gwen. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. How are you? No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter where you're from, no matter who you love, no matter if you can vote or can't vote, no matter if you've already voted, no matter if you've never voted, you are welcome here, and I'm glad you're here. First Universalist, welcome to our UU The Vote service. Congregations all across the country this morning, UU congregations all across the country this morning are having UU The Vote services, and we are happy and proud to be amongst them on this day that marks 30 days to the election. Yeah. Every week, it's perfectly timed. 30 days to the election, and I don't know about you, but I certainly feel like anything could happen between then and now. How fittingly, then, that our church-wide theme for this month is deep listening, a practice that invites us to go beyond the hoopla and anxiety and listen to what else is being expressed right now. What else is being expressed by those in the margins? What else is being expressed by those we love and don't love? What else is echoing through nature? What else is echoing in our spirit underneath it all? Today, for our UU The Vote service, I am very excited to listen to the prayers, the stories, and the wisdom of our fellow community members, Sue Ellen Bordwell, Jeanette March Newsom, and Raj Nagakata. Sue Ellen, Jeanette, Raj, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing the pulpit with me on this important morning. In our service today, we'll be lifting up the right to vote and reflecting on the question, why do we vote? This service is not going to endorse one politician over another, nor is it going to get into the weeds of the current political state of affairs. Rather, it is our hope that this service will compel and inspire you to listen deeply to your heart and mind and ask yourself, why do you vote? What values are forefront when you choose your candidate, when you head to the polls, when you hope for a particular outcome? And how will you continue to live out those values, whether your candidate wins or loses? Big questions. Where to start? Well, let's start where we are on this Sunday morning, in this worship service, in this sanctuary of our Unitarian Universalist faith. I joyfully welcome Jeanette, member of our Leadership Development Committee, and Sue Ellen, member of our Faith in Action Council, to offer our opening words this morning, the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism.
Thank you, Hillary. When our group got together to work on the Vote service, the place we started was with the 7 principles. And this morning, with Sue Ellen's help in doing the responses, I will read our 7 principles and give us time to think about what they mean to each one of us. Number 1, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
We believe that each and every person is important.
We affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
We believe that all people should be treated fairly.
We affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth.
We believe that our churches are places where all people are accepted and where we keep on learning together.
We affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
We believe that each person must be free to search for what is true and right in life.
We affirm and promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process.
We believe that all people should have a voice and a vote about the things which concern them.
We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
We believe that we should work for a peaceful, fair, and free world.
We affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part.
We believe that we should care for our planet Earth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Sue Ellen. With these principles in mind, the principles of our faith, I now light our chalice in peace and friendship. And won't you join me now in listening or perhaps singing along to our opening hymn, number 34, Though I May Speak with Greatest Fire.
And have the gift
This reading is called A Prayer for Our Country by Rabbi Alaket Cohen. Spirit of love and justice, bless this country and all who dwell within it. Help us to experience the blessings of our lives and circumstances to be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help us to channel our anger so that it motivates us to just action. Help us to feel our fear so that we do not become numb. Help us to be generous with others so that we raise each other up. Help us to be humble in our fear, knowing that as vulnerable as we feel, there are those at greater risk, and it is our responsibility to stand with them. Help us to taste the sweetness of liberty, to not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past. Source of life, guide our leaders with rightness. Strengthen their hearts, but keep them from hardening, that they may use their influence and authority to speak truth and act for justice. May we all who live in this country share in its bounty, enjoy its freedoms, and be protected by its laws. May this nation use its power and wealth to be a voice for justice, peace, and equality for all. May we be strong and have courage to be bold in our actions and deep in our compassion, to discern when we must listen and when we must act, to uproot bigotry, intolerance, misogyny, racism, discrimination, and violence in all of its forms. To celebrate the many faces of love reflected in the wondrous diversity of humanity, to welcome the stranger and the immigrant, and to honor the gifts of those who seek refuge and possibility here. Let justice well up like water, and the spirit of life and justice and love become a mighty stream.
It's a powerful prayer. Bold in our actions, deep in compassion. We now come to a time in our service that we set aside for silent prayer and contemplation. As our Sunday services are recorded, we will not be sharing our joys and sorrows during this time this fall. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern you'd like to share with the community, please join us for our Wednesday Vesper services at 7 p.m. when we have a regular sharing time. And please also know that I'm available throughout the week to talk with you, walk with you, meet with Zoom with you. So don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like to chat. In a moment, we'll enter into a time of quiet. And this is a time to perhaps reflect on the events of the past week, look forward to what may come in the days ahead, or simply be here now in this unique moment and the unique sensations and emotions it offers to us. During our time of quiet, I will light 3 candles, one for the sorrows that are weighing us down right now, one for the joys that are lifting us up, and one for the present moment where we're holding all of it. So, won't you join me now by relaxing into your body, taking a deep, refreshing breath, and entering into a time of prayer and quiet. for all that can be expressed, for all we hold inside, for all that we simply do not have the words to explain. We hear you, we hold you, we wish you continued joy, immediate comfort, a path forward, and the seeds of peace starting right now. Amen. The recipient of today's half plate is the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters believes that democratic government depends upon informing and active participation in government, that every citizen should be protected in the right to vote, and that responsible government should be responsive to the will of the people. The League is a critical partner with First Universalist and Musan's UU The Vote. You are invited to make your offering today using the Donate button in the order of worship, with electronic giving possibilities on a new platform, GiveButter, which accepts a card number and also PayPal and Venmo accounts. As with any credit card transactions with profit and nonprofit entities, there are additional charges. And with GiveButter, you can pick up the charges yourself or have your credit card company take it out of your donation so the church picks it up. As always, to avoid fees, you can also just drop a check in the mail or use your bank's bill pay feature. It's up to you. This morning's offering has now been requested and is gratefully received. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Beautiful. It's a privilege to be with you this morning to share my thoughts on why I vote. When asked why do you vote, I took a short mental trip back to 1969 when I was able to vote for the first time at the age of 21. It was pretty exciting. It was an exciting time, and my home state had a governorship up for grabs. That was the state of New Jersey. It definitely felt like a rite of passage, a passage into adulthood. A rite that I wanted to take with somber respect. The world was in the midst of the Vietnam War. Protests were a regular occurrence, and many a conversation swirled around young men being of an age to be drafted and sent to war, and yet being too young to vote. That debate, the protest, and the deep national angst continued as many of my friends, my age and younger, donned uniforms and were sent off to Vietnam. In 1972, my real interest in the right to vote came into focus with the presidential election between Nixon and McGovern. It was an intense time, a trying time, and voting really seemed to matter. If voices were to be heard, much like today, voting needed to take place. Thank goodness that was the pre-24-hour cable news time. In that era, scheduled news came into your home 3 times a day, and that was plenty. We didn't have the 24-hour input. In 1971, the 26th Amendment was signed, giving 18-year-olds the right to vote. Imagine that. In some ways, it seemed like a major correction for our nation. At least the young people sent to fight also had the right to vote. This was a wake-up call for me. With all the U.S. history classes taken in school, with certain details escaping my grasp, teachers would find it difficult to believe it took the signing of the 26th Amendment to clarify for me how the amendments made the Constitution of the United States a living document. Some of us take more time than others. This revelation caused me to look back and reconsider voting rights, their importance in history. From white land-owning men to white men to men of color to women to young adults, every step was hard fought. And though not on the front lines of the determination or the fight, I have always had a strong sense of the importance of each vote. Yes, to put a voice to my values, but to also show respect for those who came before me and whose efforts and sacrifices made it possible to have the vote and make voting accessible. My husband Alan and I traveled the United States for 26 years as he was in the United States Air Force. In those 26 years, we relocated 13 times. Our declared state of residence was always the state of New Jersey. That was right up until the time we retired and we moved to Maine in 2005. Living in places far and wide in the United States and overseas, we maintained U.S. voting rights with an anchor in the state of New Jersey, even though we didn't reside in that state. Voting is a right not to be interrupted, so we maintained a consistency. Voting is not a right to be taken for granted, so we didn't. This is the voting season for us. This is the time to let our voices be heard. It's time to get out and vote. Thank you.
gather the spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. It's Tuesday morning, February 11th, 2020, the day of the New Hampshire primary, which, as you may know, is a pretty big deal primary. I'm in Bethlehem, New Hampshire, sitting at the steering wheel of a minivan. I've been designated as a town hall shuttle driver for the morning, taxiing students back and forth to the polls from our boarding school campus. Behind me in the van are 7 energized, chatty 18-year-olds headed off to vote for the very first time. They were all registered, they all had a pass to get out of class, and my friends, these young adults were ready to go. "Man, I am so pumped to vote," one of them shouted as I turned the key in the ignition. "Me too," another replied. "Hillary, can we go to Dunkin' Donuts after to celebrate?" "Obviously," I hollered back as a collective cheer rose up behind me. I turned right out of campus and headed to the local town hall, grateful to be on this ride with these bouncy folks. They didn't express the symptoms of anxiety that I was managing that morning about this primary. As I waited for them to pile into the van after breakfast, I was still undecided about who I was going to vote for, turning the candidates over and over in my brain, making concessions with my values, thinking about who could last in the long run. I was not feeling great. Had I not known these students personally, I might have attributed their joyful excitement to youthful naivety, or just the thrill of getting off campus and skipping AP physics. But no. In this van with me, I had the leader of the school sustainability club. I had members of the Black Student Union. I had the student leader of the anti-racist white affinity group. I had a kid who wanted to be a public school teacher. And I had the student council judge who helped students in disciplinary trouble. They hailed from Indiana, the Bronx, DC, Boston, California. These were young Americans, deeply invested in the lives and livelihoods of Americans. And they were psyched to go vote. Driving to the town hall with them all, I listened as they discussed their chosen candidates. Some were really excited to vote for a particular person. Others were still undecided, like me. Naturally, their conversation unfolded into one that was just about what mattered to them. And as that conversation unfolded, a bigger picture unfolded for me that stretched beyond just this election. We got to the town hall and took selfies as we stood in line, appreciating this moment of connection with one another and those around us. We had our names checked off by poll workers, and one by one were handed a ballot. Some of the students couldn't help but smile as they held it in their hands. We voted, headed out, and waited for one another outside. A couple of students lifted their arms Rocky style in triumph as they exited the building. We got back in the van and headed to Dunkin' Donuts to celebrate. Sitting in the donut shop, waiting for folks to order, I sat down with one of the students and asked her why she was so excited to vote that day. "Hillary," she replied. Students were on a first-name basis with teachers. "This is my chance to tell the people of this country what I need. They can take it or leave it, but they have to look at it and see that I'm here. All those dudes in charge gotta know I'm here. I'm a citizen, and I'm gonna be here." I rubbed my chin. "So, you're not freaking out about whether or not your candidate wins?" "No, I am. I hope my candidate wins because if they don't, I think this country's going to get really bad for a lot of people. like scary bad. Yeah, I nodded, feeling validated. But you know what, Hillary? What? No matter who wins, I'm still gonna try to do all the stuff that I think is important for me and for people like me to live a good life. I murmured. So yeah, I gotta vote because I need the US to know I exist. And I gotta at least try to get someone in office who's on my side and will help make life better for people. But either way, Hillary, we got work to do. And we need to go do that work. I paused to write her words down in a notebook, which she thought was hilarious. Hillary, aren't you supposed to, be my teacher? I take notes on what you say? Yeah, not today, my friend. Not right now. Today you're my teacher. She raised an eyebrow and smirked. Well, you better be careful. Everyone got their donuts and warm drinks. We piled in the van, headed back to school, and got to work.
That's not on my list yet, but I will put it on there. Sue Ellen, Jeanette, Sam, Hillary. It's nice to be back in this place. And Hillary, you'll really appreciate it when there's people here. When Hillary asked me to speak on this subject, I thought that this would be an easy task. A congregation as engaged as ours likely doesn't need a reminder of why to vote. Yet, in putting my thoughts together, I realized the importance of reaffirming why it is that we vote and why it's so critical. So, I have many reasons why I vote, and I believe that you probably do too. And let me share some of those. I vote because it's part of a social contract between me and my friends here in Yarmouth, between me and my friends in Maine, between me and my citizens and other citizens in the United States. I vote because it's a privilege, an opportunity to choose my representation that a majority of the world does not have, and that millions of people come to this country to exercise. I vote because it's a privilege, an opportunity that millions of people in the United States do not have, and too few take advantage of. I'll point out that a nation of 330 million people has 153 million people registered to vote, and that just over 50% of them actually do. I vote because it's an obligation to those in our past, to those who fought for and those who died to ensure that I could have this right, including Unitarian Universalist minister James Reed, who died in Selma while protesting on behalf of African Americans. I vote because it's an obligation to my brethren in the present, to those all around me who continue to fight to ensure that all citizens can exercise this right. I vote because it's an obligation to my child, to Annie and others into the future, to ensure that I influence the direction of this country for her. I vote because I swore to uphold the Constitution when I became a citizen of this country when I was 18. And voting is an integral part of that commitment. I vote because it sets an example for those around me. Because we are a community and a nation that depends upon norms and behaviors to function successfully. I vote because it's one of the most national of all exercises in which we engage. One of the few things that a majority of Americans do together. I vote because almost all of my choices represent one person, one vote, for local positions, state positions, congressional positions, notwithstanding that presidential election electoral college thing. I vote because it's my voice. And I vote because I lose my moral right to complain about representation when I don't vote. I vote because democracy only works when people participate. I vote because it's the most explicit demonstration of common civic engagement in this country. I vote because I'm against taxation without representation. I vote because if I don't vote, someone else's positions becomes community policy. Because someone else's views become state policy. And because someone else's views becomes national policy. I vote this year because I can elect a true representative to Congress after having lived in Washington, D.C. for 25 years. I vote this year because I really want to make my voice heard. Because we have the power to shape our destiny. I vote because I spend my working days protecting everyone's right to vote, rebuilding how we develop young citizens in this country, and how we create a flourishing civil society, all of which depend upon our vote. I vote for all these reasons, but frankly, not really. These are all intellectual reasons, but I vote because of my emotional reason. See, in the end, I vote because I affirm the ideals of our nation, that all men and women are created equal, regardless of race, religion, or perspective, that we believe in freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of assembly, that we have the right to be secure in our homes, the right to due process, the right to a jury trial, and all the other rights enumerated in our Constitution and our laws. I vote because every time I vote, I celebrate our journey towards a better place. I vote because I strongly believe, deep in my bones, Martin Luther King's paraphrase of our own minister Theodore Parker's observation. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We have work to do. Let's vote.
Jeanette. Thank you, Raj. Stirring. Ready to get out there and vote. Our closing hymn today is number 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
We are a gentle, angry
Our benediction today is adapted from a prayer to build a national community written by Sister Simone, a leader of the Nuns on the Bus. Spirit of love and justice, during the days, weeks, and months ahead, stir our hearts and minds that we might fight for a vision that is worthy of your call to honor all creation. A vision of who we are as a people, grounded in community and care for all, especially the marginalized. A vision that cares for our earth and heals the planet. A vision that ends structural racism, bigotry, and sexism so rife now in our nation and in our history. A vision that ensures hungry people are fed, children are nourished, and immigrants are welcome. A spirit of love and justice, breathe in us and our leaders a new resolve that, committed to this new American promise, we will work together to build a national community grounded in healing, fearlessly based on truth, and living out a sense of shared responsibility. Spirit of love and justice, bring out of this time of global and national chaos a new creation, a new community that can, with love and justice, realize this new promise. With profound hope, let we, the people, say, Amen.
All right, we're done.